Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our second session. We have our keynote speaker with Hanane here. She's been living with a spinal cord injury since 2012. And among other things, she spends her time mentoring others with spinal cord injuries and cycling with her FES device that I'm sure she will speak about in a little bit. So Hanane, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. You'll have to unmute yourself. Whoops. Here you are. Hi.
So I can start.
Go for it.
Hi, everyone. I can't even see myself. That's why I'm like so confused. Hello, everyone. My name is Hanane Hmada. I am 45 years old. I had a spinal cord injury in February 2012. It's been 8.5 years, a little bit over 8.5 years ago. And it's been quite a dream. It's been a dream, I should say. When it happened, it was really, I honestly cannot even remember the time. Most of the time I spent at the hospital. I remember little clips of what happened, which is great. I'm glad I don't remember everything. But I was driving and I hit a tree and my car flipped over 3 times and I was ejected out of my window. And they found me 15 feet away from my car. And I had a T3, T4 spinal cord injury. I broke all my ribs. I had a shoulder fracture. And I spent between February till May at Metro. And then from May, when I was discharged, I went directly to a nursing home, Rayanne in Westlake, because I didn't have all the arrangements ready for me to live on my own. Because that was one of the biggest thing I wanted to do. I refused to go live with a family member. And I've always been independent. I've always lived by myself. And I honestly, I don't think I even understood what it is to be paralyzed. It didn't hit me. And to this day, I can honestly say that I feel separated from being paralyzed. I deal with being paralyzed on a daily basis with all the complications, but my mind doesn't grasp Hanane paralyzed. Like, I don't try to understand it. I don't want to understand it. It's not a question that I've asked myself what it is and how is this. And I mean, I can sit there and ask myself, and I'm sure many of you have, but it's a question that there is no answer to. So I'm just going to waste my time doing something better. So I did spend all that time, and luckily, I'm so glad I was determined. I wanted to learn how to self-cath. I wanted to, whatever option they gave me that I could do on my own, I did. So luckily I moved from Marianne to my own home. And I can say the hardest part about being paralyzed for me personally is having to have an aide or someone with me all the time. Well, not all the time, but knowing my personal business. I'm sure you all know. So it's really hard. And I'm so grateful to these aides. I mean, without them, my life cannot go on, of course. I mean, I literally my level is high enough where I do not have any control of my trunk. So post my injury, once I got home, I really stayed home for 2 years and I shut down. I did not want to see anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I spoke to my parents, my brother, my sister, and my best friend. That was it. Maybe my sister's friend if she brought him over once in a while, but I really shut down. I did not want to talk to anyone. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe I was paralyzed. It was, I mean, I traveled all the time. I was very independent. I had so many friends. I had fun. I had a fun life. And now all of a sudden, I have to depend on other people. And on top of that, I'm an immigrant. My parents live here, but they do not speak English. And my brother's married, my sister's married. So really, there is no help. And I had to figure all that out. So, but during the hospital, when I was in the hospital, I have to say, and that is the reason why I volunteer. When I became paralyzed, I never knew what paralyzed. I mean, I used to see people in a wheelchair and I probably most of the time didn't even pay attention to them. And the most I would do is open the door to someone in a wheelchair. That is my extent of knowing of what I know about being in a wheelchair. But all of a sudden, the minute I became paralyzed, I saw so many people in wheelchairs. It's like when you buy a car, you never see anybody driving it. All of a sudden you buy it and everybody driving the same car. But that's what happened. And when I was in the hospital, I remember a person named Jackie who works at Metro who came. She was literally an angel sent to God because I was so drugged up when I was in the hospital. I honestly do not remember many of the things I signed or the paper I filled out. I was enrolled in school. Jackie literally helped me finish all my business with the school, like withdraw from school, file for my disability paper with my job. She did everything. I didn't do anything. And it was all perfectly, it fit perfect. And my doctors, my therapists, my nurses, I mean, those are my angels. I don't know how anybody else feels. I'm sure every situation is different. But for me personally, I had the best team that I was very, very, very lucky. And to this day, 8.5 years later, I am still very, very, very lucky. But I have to say that my attitude plays a big role in that relationship between nurses, doctors. It helps to be positive. And I am a very positive person. I think being in a wheelchair does not bother me as much as when there is a complication and it affects my mood. So when I'm in a negative mood, it affects me more. I would much rather be in a wheelchair without any negativity. But when it's negativity in my life, I just cannot deal with that. So when I came home, Jackie did everything. Like I said, she was my angel. She did everything. I came home and I shut down for 2 years, like I said. But another reason why I really shut down is because my level was too high to the point where whenever I sat in the wheelchair, it was so uncomfortable. It felt like I had a 100-pound sandbag in my shoulder. So I didn't mind staying at home. I wasn't gonna feel that pain. So one day I was at Metro for a follow-up and this guy was in a wheelchair. His name was Donnell. And we became real good friends afterwards. And he approached me and he asked me if I was completely paralyzed. And I told him yes. So he gave me the number to this gym. He asked me if I knew about the Buckeye Wellness Center. And I said, no, I never heard of it. And he gave me the number and I could have thrown that number away and never followed up with that. And that would have been a real big mistake. But luckily I did not. And I didn't, at first I didn't want to do it, but then I said, mean, why not? What are you gonna do? So I called, left a message for the owner, Chris Wynn and his wife, and I made an appointment with them. And I am so glad I went. And that is why it is very important as a person with an injury like this to put yourself out there. No one's gonna come and knock on my door to help me, to educate me on this, to give me options, to tell me what's available, to tell me what my choices are. I have to go out there and find it. And I've met few people who really shut down and they don't want to talk to anybody. And you have to dig very, very deep. I mean, I know this is very hard. This is very hard to this day for me. But I know one thing, that the power of my mind and the meaning I put on this trauma will either be, I mean, for me, it is positive, but I know it can either be negative or positive. And either way, we are the one that are going to pay the consequences. So for me, I choose to be positive because it just has a domino effect and it will help. I mean, my mind is everything. I look at this experience and I really think of it like there is two Hananes, like I said in the beginning. My body got messed up, but my mind and my soul is still intact. So I try to concentrate on the part that is intact. So I don't really think of being paralyzed until I have to transfer, until I have to shower, until I have a complication, until it's there every day, all day, but I don't put so much. I just don't give it so much value. It is what it is for me. I know it's different for everyone, but I'm so glad that this is how I feel. And that's how I think of it, because it could be so much worse. But I'm very lucky. So the one thing I did not like when I did become paralyzed is taking the paratransit. That was a very hard pill to swallow for me. But I am so grateful that it was available to me because it helped me so much. And I started going to the gym, and that's how I was getting to the Buckeye Wellness Center. And there I met so many amazing people. It's like, it's a little gym with few people, and it's like a family. And what's amazing, and the reason it's so important to put yourself out there, whenever there is a problem, we exchange. I mean, somebody might have been through some problem that I'm going through, and I have no idea how to handle it. And they can tell me, they can give me a little bit of ideas, they can help me. I mean, we really help each other. We care about each other. We understand each other so much. I mean, no one else can understand you except someone sitting in the wheelchair. No one else. They can. My mom feels bad for me, but she doesn't understand what I'm going through. I'm grateful for them, but someone in a wheelchair. So going there really makes you part of a community. It's just great for me, and that is why, in the beginning, when my doctor asked me to volunteer, I really was hesitant. Number one, because I didn't feel like taking the paratransit, to be honest, to go help someone else, because it was too painful for me. And number two, I wasn't ready. But when I went to the gym, the biggest thing I gained is when I spoke to Chris, the owner, who is a quadriplegic and who's been paralyzed, I believe, over 20 years. I'm not sure. I believe so. And I told him about how I cannot sit up straight. It would be really hard for me to come all the time. And he referred me to the VA. And that's why it is so important. I couldn't have been sitting in the wheelchair doing what I do every day had I not got that information about the VA and the research that they have for spinal cord injury. And luckily I called, and the VA has FES system with, sorry. They have an FES system. It's a functional electrical stimulation, and it's an implant that is implanted in my trunk, and it has 12 channels, 12 wires that some go to my trunk, and they're all implanted in my muscles. And some are in my trunk, some in my back, some in my glutes, and some in my quads. And I have a little box, this little box, that control it. And it has different functions. And the function I use the most every day is the trunk one. So I am able to sit up straight using this function every day. So that 200-pound handbag that I used to feel is no longer there. Thank God. So it really literally is like night and day for me. So again, had I not went to the Baca Wellness Center, I would have never heard of Chris would have never referred me to the VA. I wouldn't have went, I wouldn't have got it, and it's free. And I am part of their research, and I love it. It's a great team. It's another great team of people I work with. I mean, I cannot even describe how great they are. They're amazing. They're like a family to me. So I did that, and I am so grateful for the gym because it's all the equipment is accessible, and I'm able to transfer with the slide board, and I work out. And that's my life. I don't look like I work out, but I literally go to the gym every day as much as I possibly can. Now I drive, thank God. I'm so grateful. Every time I see someone in the wheelchair waiting for the bus, I want to cry because I wish I could give them a van. But that's what I do. So going to the gym really helps my mood, helps me feel better working out, makes me get information. I give information. I meet new people. I help offer my help. If I can help them, it makes me feel really, really good. But I just know that if I resisted this from the beginning, it will kill me. It was two choices, either accept it or resist it. And if I resist it, I was going to pay the consequences because there's really no way. I mean, you can't be stubborn with it. I just can't be. I mean, if I have a problem, a medical problem, it happens. I mean, there's really nothing I can do about it. But to me, I mean, even my doctors, I can't even describe how amazing my doctors are. But there are a lot of issues when I started volunteering because I see that a lot of people don't have the help they need. I mean, the issue with the AIDS, people are not given the information they need to have a good transition and have the good information that they need to make a decision based on facts and things that can really help them. And they're not offered that. I don't understand why, but when I was personally at the hospital, I hated when people would come in, the volunteers would come into my room. I don't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want anyone to tell me about spinal cord injury besides what I needed to know from the doctors and therapists. I don't want to know how you live it but now that I'm a volunteer, I always think maybe that person is thinking the same way as I was. And I don't care if they are upset. As long as I can go in and leave a piece of paper with all the information about waiver, about how they can get catheters, about the possibility that they can live alone, and there's a possibility that they can have aides that can help them. And there's these programs, because no one knows what to do when you're paralyzed. I mean, there's not a booklet that comes in with an accident and here's how to handle your life now. So I love going in there, and I hope that those people don't throw away those phone numbers that I give them or that information that I give them, because it really is important. Just like my catheters, they're over $10 a piece. I use 6 of them a day. There's no way I could have afforded that on my own. Waiver helped me with my van. I mean, so many programs that are amazing. And being a volunteer, you really get to learn so much. You get to meet so many people. By being a volunteer, I learned about this nonprofit organization. And one thing that bothered me the most about being paralyzed is not being able to travel, because I am very careful. I transfer only if I know I'm going to make it 100%. I am very careful. I don't want to fall. I don't want to break a bone. I don't want to give myself any reasons to go to the hospital. So one of the things that I really, really wanted was a shower chair and a commode that come in the luggage. When I found that, I was like ecstatic. I was so happy. It's so convenient. I did not know that your equipment is free when you travel by airplane. You don't have to pay for it. I had no idea. And that's the thing, you don't know so many things. You learn as you go. And I'm still learning as I go. And when I started volunteering, I met Mark, who works at Metro, who has a nonprofit organization. He's an amputee. Told me about his organization, and I ended up applying, and I got that chair. That chair is almost $8,000. I haven't used it yet, but I got it. So I am ready to travel though. So that's how important it is to be out there. I mean, volunteering really helps me more than it helps the patient. Because when I am in the bad mood, and I have my days, of course, this isn't easy. And my pain, I have back pain 24/7, nerve pain. And when I'm in a bad mood, or it's raining and drainy and feeling just down, and I go to volunteer and I push myself and I go in and walk in, and there's a quadriplegic or a brain injury, or someone that is so much worse than my situation, instantly I'm realigned. What do I have to complain about? What do I have to complain? I can move my hands. Look at this person, and that person has someone that's worse than him. And it's just, that's how it goes. So I do not compare. I do not think of my prior life prior to my injury. I think of it sometimes. I don't associate with people I used to associate with them. And I choose to. That's my choice. And that's the thing. You have the choice. We have the choice. Even though we don't have the ability, but I have the choice. I don't have the ability to walk, but I have the ability to think. And it's not easy. I'm not downplaying this at all. It's hard for me. I live alone. I have an aide that comes 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening. So I have only a window between 12 noon and 4 to do whatever I want. I don't have the luxury to make plans with my friends at 8 o'clock, because then I won't have anybody to help me get back in bed. So I just hope that one day my hope is to figure out, there are so many issues with aides who do not get paid well enough, and they can refuse service for you. Like, they can refuse their clients. So if they don't want to deal with, if they feel like this is to handle, as opposed for them to go sit with an older person during that same time and just get paid the same, why not? They don't get treated. They're not just valued as they should. And aides really give me the possibility to do everything. They are my backbone. As much as I want to have my personal life and no one in it getting that involved in it. Those aides are my family. They're not aides to me. So overall, I really would not trade this experience. I I I just had to create new habits for myself, thinking to myself, what do I need to let go of? And what do I need to do? I mean, in my brain is everything, and my mind is everything, and the power of the mind is amazing. And I think that's the best lesson I learned. You know, the things I gave value to prior to my accident became meaningless, and I was so wrong in so many things. So if I think this trauma is negative, and I put that in my head, and I think of things that are in the future, assuming how it's going to be, I could be wrong there too. So I don't want to be wrong in this time. So I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't have no regrets. I don't have any expectations. I just live day by day, day by day. I have hopes. I wish I can travel. I wish I could do some things. Of course, I mean, like everybody else, but I don't dwell on what's going to happen. I just worry because I know that my mind truly affects my health. And that is the main thing to me, is staying away from the hospital. So it was nice meeting everyone, and good luck. Thank you so much, Megan.
I need to unmute before I start talking. Thank you. Someone did put in the Q&A that they related to everything that you were saying and more strength to you. He did ask if there was a way to get information you have, and then I asked if there was specific information he was after. So we'll give that a minute. What was the travel organization?
Oh, it's not a travel organization. There is no travel. I mentioned I like to travel, and I applied for the chair at a nonprofit organization that will allow me to travel. So like I have to have the commode chair, the shower chair. The idea of traveling, having to take all that was just impossible until I found out that it was free to take all that equipment with you, number one, if you really have to. And number two, I found the chair that was available that comes in a luggage, the whole setup.
In the chat, it says, awesome, awesome. Are there any like other questions or comments for Hanane? Okay, well, awesome. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. And I completely agree. The more positive we are and the more we focus on what we still can do, the better. You go to Buckeye Wellness, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So the gym name is Buckeye Wellness, and Chris Wynn, who is the founder owner of Buckeye Wellness, is actually part of our next session after our next break. So you will hear all about Buckeye Wellness and everything for that. So awesome. Thank you so much again, Hanane.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, so we are scheduled for another break. Well, okay. Let me just go ahead and do this real quick. This one, share. Okay, we are scheduled for another 15-minute break. There was one more thing I need to do. Hold on.